Finally got my two-hander for my Frost DK. Time for some big obliterate. Killing machine. Bam! Obliterate 7k. Bam! Obliterate 8k. Arthas would be proud.
Nah, I am proud, son. Dual wield is better. Look, 5k, 5k. Is that more than 7k? How about 8k? I can do the math because I am busy doing more damage than you.
But
More 5k.
wait! Obliterate! Non-crit 3k.
6k, 6k.
Oh, the fuck!
Shh, you are scaring my two little spoons here. Look how frightened they are.
Alright, give me some one-handers, man. Fuck this shit.
Hold on. You still need talents, legendaries, covenants, rotation.
Fine. Let's just do this.
Let's go, uncle.
You know who's not your uncle? Your mama! Hey, hey.
That's not how you do a yo mama joke, man.
It's a segue into telling them to subscribe and enable those notifications, man.
Do you even know what a segue is?
It's when you... Because you have the one... Shut up, man! Before we dive into the spec, disclaimer time! You can play both dual wielding and two-hander playstyles. Dual wield outputs the most with Breath of Sindragosa, and two-handers do better with Obliteration. Sindragosa is better than Obliteration with the dual wield weapon playstyle in single target, being actually fairly close, but pulls way more ahead in AoE by a substantial margin, while two-handers can really only work with the Obliteration playstyle. In single target, both weapon playstyles are fairly close, but dual wield starts to be better and better in AoE. Either way, if you really want to know which is better and you have all the weapons already, sim yourself on raidbots.com. This is assuming all weapons are of the same eye level. Otherwise, if your two-hander ever gets to be 15 eye levels above your main hand dual wield weapon, then the two-hander will do better in all scenarios. But this is just ballparking it. With that out of the way, we can talk about these potential two builds, starting with the first Talon row, seeing Inexorable Assault work towards your Obliteration build. This one gives you a stacking buff every 8 seconds for a total of 5 stacks, each being consumed when you use Obliterate to deal additional damage. Not much else to say here. Passive, don't even need to think about it for this one. For the Breath of Sindragosa, Cold Heart is the better option. This will work well to be casted at the end of Pillar of Frost for the maximum single target damage, but you can also cast it at around 15 plus stacks if you get a Rune of the Fallen Crusader proc. This is because Cold Heart will reach 20 stacks before Pillar of Frost becomes available, and you would have to sit on those stacks, wasting potential new ones. The second row has Murderous Efficiency be the go-to for Obliteration. Seeing as how during Pillar of Frost windows you will be consuming a Killing Machine proc every other global, this talent gets maximum value this way, where you would get a Rune on average every 4th global during Pillar of Frost. While for the Breath of Sindragosa build, Runic Attenuation still works as the best option on the row, and was addressed to now have the same amount of procs with both weapon playstyles, unlike what its tooltip might lead you to believe. Runic Power will end up being your most important resource to generate during Breath windows, and talents that optimize that and the gaining of it will take the lead. Moving down, we have the Crowd Control row. As with any crowd control and utility focused rows, you want to make sure that whatever option you end up choosing, you will be making the most out of it. Blinding Sleet is unique to Frost DK and a similar crowd control that Paladin has. You essentially disorient every enemy around you for 5 seconds, and when it breaks by expiring or damage dealt, the enemies are slowed by 50% for 6 seconds. This is great at stopping casts and helping your tank kite. It takes the place of what you usually would have, and that is Asphyxiate. This is a 4-second duration, long-range stun with a 45-second cooldown. This is better when your target to be controlled is already predetermined and you don't have any other person in your group to single target stun. It's up to you which one you use. For the level 35 row, Avalanche is better for the Obliteration build and subsequently for the two-hander build, since its damage scales with the main hand's weapon damage. It will work really well for Breath of Sindragosa builds also, making it maybe the best option on the row. is the best AoE option on this row for what otherwise would be a fairly single target focused build if you take Obliteration. For the Breath build, Frozen Pulse can be an alternative because it is assumed you run 2 weapons, hence more proc chance, and the fact that during Breath the natural progression of your rotation is to see you almost starved on runes, hence the uptime on this passive will be as high as it could possibly be. Obviously, it's better to play with it even outside Breath of Sindragosa. Frostbite is dog shit. The level 40 row has survivability options. Due to the amount of roots and mechanics that impair your mobility or ask for it, Wraith Walk is our recommendation. It provides everything a Death Knight lacks: mobility. Permafrost is just passive in combat shields, and Death Pact is an oh shit button in a meta where constant high damage intake is a thing, making it not that great. On the second to last row, Gathering Storm is also the best overall option here, sadly. It provides uptime and increased damage on Remorseless Winter for every rune you spend. It synergizes amazingly with Breath, with the Runic Empowerment passive, and for Obliteration it's the only reliable AoE talent that can and should be maintained during Pillar of Frost. Glacial Advance has some specific scenarios in which it can be good if you run a two-hander and are looking to do short burst AoE damage. And lastly, the creme de la creme, the bee's knees, the big kahuna, the Hakuna Matata, Obliteration for the Obliteration build, clearly. Taking this essentially changes your rotation during your Pillar of Frost window, where your goal is to spam a Killing Machine proc, Obliterate every other cooldown, meaning that resource management and rotation priority goes out the window. This will give you massive single target damage, and since the priority changes in such a way where you will cast the most amount of Obliterates during this time, both Murderous Efficiency and Avalanche will get massive value because of the passive synergies they have with your kit. Breath of Sindragosa is the obvious contender and still the best option for all content, but thankfully not by too much. Breath does the most amount of damage, but also has the steeper requirements when it comes to executing it properly. It's not mechanically difficult, but does rely on you understanding the encounter so you don't get forced away from your target, losing out precious globals that can extend its duration. Sure, Obliteration has the same requirement with Pillar of Frost windows, but where this one has a short 12 seconds window every 1 minute, potentially forgiving more mistakes, Breath is a 2-minute all or nothing damage profile where a mistake can make the difference between a 1-minute Breath uptime to a 15 seconds one. Neither is ideal, but if you want to go with the simpler and more forgiving option, Obliteration is your pick, while for more overall performance, Breath is the way to go. You will notice that even though we classify the talents on the screen as single target, raids, AoE or Mythic Plus focused, you can play any of the two builds in any of the two different types of content as long as you are aware where they will perform the best. I played Obliteration in dungeons and was doing okay for someone who just wanted to have some fun and play big Obliteration crits, as an example. Hey you, yeah you, watching this guide, look into my eyes, look closer. What do you see? You see me telling you to sim. Listen, if you are new to WoW or just started to play and you want to take it more seriously, this whole simming business might seem tedious and annoying, and it is. But the game design went into such a way where the correct upgrade is not clear and the differences between item X and Y are still minor, but still differences. Simming is the only accurate way for you to tell what stats are the best, what enchants to use, and so on. We will still give you a point of reference though. Strength will still be numero uno, to the point where my 190 eye level DK, it sims 3 times as high as any other secondary stat. This directly translates into eye level being your first metric of comparison. The higher eye level wins out, especially when it comes to weapons. Now that items from dungeons are upgradable, if you have the choice in what to upgrade, weapons will give you the most bang for your buck, regardless if it's two-handers or dual wield. After that, go with Mastery. Mastery, Frozen Heart, increases the frost damage of frost abilities and consequently makes Obliteration viable, since Killing Machine procs will make Obliterates do frost damage instead of physical. Hence the talent will now scale with gear properly. After Mastery, go with Critical Strike, Haste, and Versatility last. The difference between the last 3 is inconsequential, and the best way to approach them is a little bit of everything. One exception is with two-handed obliteration builds, where there are a few haste breakpoints that can get you an extra global inside the pillar windows. Normally we don't go this advanced into our guides, but seeing how popular two-handed frost is and how much people ask for it, we thought it could be worth to mention that if you can reach any of these breakpoints by gemming or enchanting, you should go for it. Only for obliteration builds, however. With this in mind, even if you don't plan on simming or min-maxing like that, going for the most amount of mastery with whatever comes with it will be your best pick of the litter. For your weapons, if you are dual wielding, use Rune of Razor Eyes on your main hand and Rune of the Fallen Crusader for your offhand. When using a two-hander, Razor Eyes is the best for single target scenarios, so most raid fights, and Fallen Crusader for dungeons or fights like Sun King with a lot of adds and general multi-target situations. When enchanting your chest piece, if your eye level is trash, hence just started playing, Eternal Skirmish will be the better option that can easily translate into Eternal stats when your eye level starts to get higher. Never forget the Heavy Desolate Armor kit when pushing hard content. Every bit helps. Eternal Strength for the gloves and Fortified Speed for your cloak since, well, if you need to know why, then let me be the first to welcome you to the aptly named Wheelchair class.
Wheelchair class is meant in a comedic manner. It is by no means a derogatory use of slang to insult or marginalize otherwise disenfranchised parties. Please consult your local sense of humor before taking this joke too seriously.
Use the Masterful Jewel cluster for any socketing situations, and with the Tenet of Mastery enchants for your rings, you should be set. Potion of Spectral Strength is the best potion for all scenarios, raids or dungeons. The flask will be the Spectral Flask of Power, the only one this time. Yep, no more strength / intellect / agility flasks. Haha, thank God the game is no longer complicated. Just messing with you, Ian. I know you guys did it so alchemists have a better time selling their shit. I don't have alchemy anymore. Speaking of stones, which have nothing to do with the segue, but here we are because I'm a master of segues. Yep, no oils for you this time, but shaded sharpening stones or shaded waystones will be your go-to for your weapons based on your weapon type. As for the food, the feast will clearly get you your macros. Yeah, I don't know what those are, but a lot of dudes that look like they could steal my girlfriend say they are necessary, so you eat them then. If feasts are too much, the iridescent ravioli and applesauce will be your next best thing to stuff your face with. Yeah, no more McDonald's, cause let's be honest, this whole global situation hasn't done great for my Tinder profile pic, if you don't know what I'm saying. To start it off, all covenants are fairly close to each other right now, to the point where there isn't one that's clearly superior to the others for all content. If you off-spec or looking to just have stupid fun, pick what you like. Currently the most popular one that seems to be used at the highest of play in both M+ and raids is Necro Lord, with Venthyr performing a bit better in Mythic+. How much better, you say? Well, seeing as how the majority of the top Frost DKs get their performance with Necro Lords in raids and around a third of them or so in dungeons, I'd say Necro will pull a bit ahead. That doesn't mean it's the best for everything, but it will be what we will recommend. Abomination Limb is a 2-minute cooldown that synergizes with Breath cooldown and clearly the 1-minute pillar for obliteration. More so than this, the fact that Abomination Limb offers a free rhyme proc makes your transition into your obliteration rotation a lot better. The utility of the grips aside, which is pretty good if you have a heavy AoE group, running the Emily Soulbind with Lead by Example makes it so you buff your entire group by 2% of their main stat every 2 minutes, usually when everyone has their most important cooldowns on average and affecting a maximum of 4 people within 8 yards. That buff alone can make Emily and by default Necrolords the best DPS output choice you can go with. Hymir can also be a good Soulbind to go for. Forgeborn Reveries give you a potential permanent buff to your strength by 3%, which in terms of uptime is better than Emily, and with Hymir's Arsenal Marrow Gemstone, you get a hefty amount of critical strike, 18% to be exact, for 10 seconds potentially every minute. As for conduits, the best potency conduits by far is Everfrost, which makes Gathering Storm and Remorseless Winter altogether one of your biggest sources of damage output, single target, but especially in AoE. Accelerated Cold is also a good second potency to have, or maybe the other good potency to have. The recharge time is irrelevant since it won't give you any extra casts because you will be saving Empower Rune Weapon for Pillar of Frost. The extra haste is why you really want to use this conduit. As for endurance, Hardened Bones is the best general DK endurance conduit, transforming Lichborn into a defensive cooldown. Reinforced Shell stands to make anti-magic zone even better, while Finesse sees Spirit Drain, a conduit that also provides a boost damage, with Chilled Resilience being a defensive finesse conduit and a good option to make Icebound, a stun breaker, and immunity have more uptime, which is always nice. The absolute best trinket to get right now is the Sinful Gladiator's Badge of Ferocity. It has a 1-minute cooldown on its strength proc, meaning it aligns perfectly with your Pillar of Frost for every and literally every damage burst window. Sure, you have to PvP for it, but do you want the best or do you want the best? While you're at it, it's worth picking up the insignia as well, since you can get both to a high eye level at the same time. Although there could be better options in Stone Legion's Heraldry when there are other people in your group using it, and it's a pretty good trinket for most specs right now, or even Inscrutable Quantum Device. This last one is a bit tricky since its proc is random and influenced by the state of your group, as in it can give mana to healers or heal the tank instead of buffing your secondary stat by a freaking fat amount. There are weak auras that can help monitor and predict the proc you will have, so there's that. There are 3 legendaries worth looking at right now, with the 4th one being Bis for PvP. Coltira's Favor is the best single target legendary for both Breath and Obliteration. Its proc is clearly meant to be optimizable for Breath and more obliterates during Pillar of Frost windows. If your goal is to raid a lot and perform the best in Nathria, go with this one. For dungeons, Biting Cold is your best option. It plays on the Remorseless Winter damage profile, baking even more power into it and making Obliteration builds viable, if not even almost competitive with Breath builds in AoE. Not really competitive, but it works. And lastly, Rage of the Frozen Champion is a general legendary for all Frost DK builds, in all content. Personally, I used it with Obliteration, where you really want the Rhyme proc from it only, since the runic power gain is next to useless during Pillar windows. Why that is? Well, just stay tuned for the rotation. You start by obliterating 3 times and consuming all Rhyme procs with Howling Blast. After you get to 60 runic power or more, pop Empower Rune Weapon, then Pillar. Use Breath, pop Raise Dead, Remorseless Winter, and your Strength Potion. After this, you continue with the Breath of Sindragosa rotational priority. Make sure to also include any DPS ratios like the Orc Control ones into the, ideally, Pillar cooldown. During Breath, your most important ability to cast is Obliterate if you are below 30 runic power. Next is Remorseless Winter, since you are spec'd into Gathering Storm. Howling Blast every time you have a Rhyme proc. Obliterate again to prevent capping on runes or if you drop below 45 runic power, and then again Obliterate if you are at 73 runic power or less. The reason I mention Obliterate so many times is that it's not always the best ability to cast at all times during Breath. You don't want to cap runic power by casting it, and if you have enough runic power, refreshing Remorseless Winter or consuming Rhyme procs will be a better use of your global. With Obliteration talented, you start by pressing Chains of Ice if you have Cold Heart talented. Then pop Remorseless Winter. Consume any Killing Machine procs you get with Obliterate, if it happens. Use Empower Rune Weapon with Pillar. Raise Dead next. Use Howling Blast with your potion to trigger the first Killing Machine, which you immediately consume with Obliterate. You can actually make a macro for Pillar, Potion, Empower Rune Weapon, Raise Dead, and Howling Blast all together in one glorious button. The priority for Obliteration is simple. Cast Obliterate if you have a Killing Machine proc. Cast Howling Blast if you don't have a Killing Machine proc and you have Rhyme. Cast Frost Strike if you don't have a Killing Machine proc. The idea here is to cast as many Killing Machine Obliterates as possible. That means you will be weaving in either Howling Blast or Frost Strike in between every Obliterate to generate said proc. If you use Empower Rune Weapon or simply have a lot of gear, you will likely end up capping runic power. Although that's arguably wasted damage, you don't want to cast Frost Strike to eat up the runic power if you already have a Killing Machine proc or you have a Rhyme proc up. Also, as an exercise, as you see Pillar of Frost coming off cooldown, you want to save up your runes while still consuming any procs you have and dump almost all of the runic power, save for enough to cast a Frost Strike if you don't get a lucky Rhyme proc to start your Killing Machine weave. As long as you follow the normal rotational priority while doing this, you should be fine. Outside your cooldowns, you cast Remorseless Winter and keep it up at all times. Howling Blast next if you have a Rhyme proc, Obliterate when you have 2 runes available and the Frozen Pulse talent is taken, Frost Strike when at 73 runic power or more, Obliterate if runes are available, if not, Frost Strike. In AoE, you want to keep up Remorseless Winter, consume Rhyme with Howling Blast, Death and Decay next, Obliterate next, Frost Strike as a filler, seeing as how the standard talent builds will not unlock stuff like Frost Scythe or Glacial Advance. This is the basic AoE priority rotation, while the cooldown specific ones remains the same regardless of the number of targets you are fighting. A quick mention here, when casting Frost Worm's Fury, you really want to cast it at the end of Pillar of Frost to get the maximum amount of strength from it, with the exception of Obliterate, but if you are in AoE scenarios, which is probably most of the time, you still want to cast Frostworm's Fury with the most amount of strength possible. The guide focuses on giving you a basic and quick pickup on the spec. This should be enough to get you acquainted with Frost, but there is always more stuff you can explore and master. Check out the Accuracy Discord where the top Frost peeps are pumping the deeps and you will get to chat and ask questions to the best of the best. A big shout out to Biceps, Taze and The Grain for providing insight about Frost and the workings underneath the hood of the spec. You can catch Biceps on his YouTube and Twitch down in the description, where you will find his Wowhead guide with more details on the spec. Taze is one of the top theory crafters alongside Biceps and Tuesday, to name a few, for Frost and Unholy, and you can chat with all of the lads in the Accuracy Discord community. Thank you for watching the video, and thank you dear patrons for supporting our channel, our platform, and everything that we do here at Marcelian&Online. Your contribution keeps us going and keeps us constantly aiming for more and better. And if you, dear viewer, are interested in supporting us a little bit more, check the link down below where you will find maybe some other goodies. Thank you for watching the video. See you next time.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play